Hi, this is Tim Haller, and I'm doing day 7 of the 90-day video journey challenge. And something's just occurred to me about my motivations. And there's a towards and away from motivation. And when I realised my motivation was an away from, it was kind of a big piece of the jigsaw for me as to why I felt that things weren't working for me at times. And I spent a lot of time being in debt and not having money, and doing low-paid jobs, and jumping from one job to another and not really being very happy. But all the time I was kind of motivated away from debt rather than towards financial success or abundance. And as soon as I got out of my overdraft, I would relax a little bit. When it got back to zero, when the bank account got back to zero, I would consider that a success, and I would relax a bit. I wouldn't stress so much. I wouldn't work so hard, and then eventually and inevitably it would go back down again. And I remember at the time my overdraft was about £2,500. So £2,500 into my overdraft was tended to be panic stations, and I would freak out when it was getting around that point and not knowing where my next income was coming from, and living on my rent with a credit card and paying rent with a credit card. And sounds horrendous now when I think about it, but and then just the respite of getting back to zero, which was usually after some big job had come in, and I'd managed to pay off debt. So I'd worked for maybe had a week's work or something, and managed to clear it off. And then the rest of the time I was stressed, and it was an awful existence really when I think back. But all I wanted was a bit of peace of mind. I felt the stunt work that I was doing was stressful because it's obviously dangerous. But I was also stressed in between because of not having any regular income, and dealing with all this debt and stuff. So when I got a job in, and got some money and knew that I was going to pay off my overdraft and be back to zero, I just relaxed off, and that was what I considered success, and that was my away from motivation. And it wasn't until I read a book called the Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, really good book, and it had a success wave. And actually, I've got this book here, which I'll grab it. This is the book. See if I can find the. So it's The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and it's a really good book. I've even got it bookmarked. Here's the wave between success. You can see success, survival, and failure. And I was in the failure survival curve. So whenever I would get to survival level, I would slack off, and then until I dropped back down to failure again, which motivated me to work. So just noticing it and reading this book and shifting a few things made a massive difference in my life, and it allowed me to, because I knew that zero was my focus. I set up some standing orders and paid into savings accounts and things like that, so that I could still be motivated by zero, but I would also be siphoning off into another account, knowing that I was putting some aside and saving. And also I shifted my focus on what I wanted to do. I shifted it towards working in a more congenial manner, because I was doing stressful jobs, and I was driving HGVs at the time as well, which I found incredibly stressful as well. I wasn't motivated to work. I was motivated away from work, but also I was trying to get out of debt at the same time. So I had a sort of a double bind in which I wasn't incredibly motivated to get more work. So when the phone went, I would take the jobs, but in between times I wasn't actively pushing to build the stunt work, because I knew of people who got hurt, and there was a part of my mind that was a little bit afraid, I guess, and a little bit inconsistent with my motivations. So an internet business seemed to solve a lot of the problems, so that allowed me to focus on things in a more congenial manner, and focus on building a successful business, and that seemed to align more with my values and all the other things I was doing. So by doing a couple of those things, it just really turned my life around quite dramatically over a number of years. Just by noticing these little effects on my life, and how I was motivated and what I was motivated by. So yeah, that's definitely worth a read. Jeff Olson, The Slight Edge. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.